Okay, the recording has been started.
Great, thank you, Chris. So good evening, we're on the record here in the matter of encroachment permit application L96S1083B. The applicant is Valorie Wood. My name is Eric Wilson. I'm the Resource Protection Assistant Bureau Chief with the Idaho Department of Lands and the hearing coordinator in this proceeding. It's now 6:02 Pacific time, April 19th, 2022. We're conducting this hearing at the Idaho Department of Lands office in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho and Sandpoint, Idaho. This is the scheduled time and place for IDL hearing number PH-2022-NAV-20-002. Please make sure all your cell phones are in the silent mode. This hearing is related to Ms. Wood's encroachment permit application to add a high dive platform and fixed canopy to their single family dock in and adjacent to Lake Pend Oreille. The Idaho Department of Lands is responsible for administering the Lake Protection Act, Idaho Code Title 58, Chapter 13. Pursuant to this statute, the applicants must obtain an encroachment permit from IDL. My responsibility is to consider the application and the written record, take public comment, and determine whether or not the proposed encroachment meets the applicable statutes, rules, and case law. I will then issue a preliminary order, which will be reviewed by the Director of the Department of Lands. He will then issue a final order no more than 30 days after conclusion of the hearing. The department has provided me with the agency record, which consists of 16 documents posted on the agency's website for this hearing. It's also available for the applicant and members of the public. I will take additional comments during the hearing as follows. We will start with the applicant or their representatives. I believe there's nobody else to testify tonight. So then it will be followed by Department of Land staff, and then the applicant will be given an opportunity to respond to any issues raised and to make closing remarks. A few final reminders before we begin taking testimony. Please be respectful and courteous of everyone here. The hearing is being recorded. Be sure to speak clearly. When it's your turn to speak, please begin by stating your name and spelling if needed. There will be no swearing in tonight. This is a public hearing in which we're taking public comment, so please direct all comments to me. I may ask questions of those providing comments to ensure I fully understand the application, but there will be no cross-examination or questioning by anyone present. I may limit testimony if it is duplicative or ask a presenter to remain on task if the testimony is wandering. Presenters may defer to legal counsel or specialists such as landscape architects, marine contractors, engineers, or others. If you wish to provide comments, please submit them to me either following your comments or when called for. Written comments will be afforded the same weight as all verbal comments that are taken today. And for those of you in Sandpoint, if you have written comments, just give them to Justin and he will make sure they get to us. Are there any questions before we begin accepting testimony?
No.
Okay, as I call your name, please go ahead and state your name and start speaking. So we will begin with Ms. Wood, the applicant.
Thank you. My name is Valorie Wood, and it's VALORIEWOOD, and I've lived out on Warren Island for 29 years now. My husband and I built the house in 1993, and we originally had two lots, 6 and 7. Our house is currently, and the dock is currently on 7. We also had 6, and then we had sold that piece of property and built, this is the second dock and then the third through the years. Anyway, the reason we had rebuilt is because the dock was falling apart, it was old, and also my husband needed wheelchair access. He was getting more and more needing a wheelchair the whole time. And then, so we needed to design it so he could do, we could move him, he'd get him on and off the island. And so, and I thank you for the dock and the handicap access made a huge difference in our lives for safety and for access. So when we built the, so we built the dock, and anyway, I got the complaint in December, the middle of December, and I had called Charlie, and I did not realize that for the 29 years, we've always had a tower on the dock. And so I just assumed that we could do that, which was obviously a wrong assumption. And I apologize that I didn't mean to not do the right system or be disrespectful in any way. So we built it, and what happened was I had Charlie build, he built the whole, ripped out the old dock and built the whole dock, Charlie Kramer building, dock building. And he followed everything to the letter for the navigational encroachment permit. Then what happened was I didn't want the metal railings that my husband wanted, and I wanted to have the railings and everything tie in with the house so it would be more aesthetic. Aesthetics is very important to my husband. And so we had our builder, Dan McMahon, come in then, and Shirley built everything perfectly to code and everything. And then I had Dan come in, who was a builder, and do all the railings and go ahead and put a tower up and put a cover on the wheelchair turnaround so that my husband had a place to be out of the weather while we went down the main tower and the smaller lift, and then took him with the wheelchair to the middle area. And I put we had the cover put on it. And then we would get the lift in the winter, the 13 feet, it had to come out to the top so we could put him in it and get him down to the floating dock for winter. And so we wanted it to be aesthetic, but also I was worried about with the winter, it being a canvas type thing that it would rip or and fall apart. So that's why we put the wood structure in, and again tied it in with the rest of the property. It fits with the tower, the main tower on the top, and it fits along the side of the property with there's a little cabin where the top fits with that too. So again, my husband was always wanting aesthetics because he loved the land. So that's how all that came to be, because Dan wasn't familiar, obviously, and I was not either with that we would need a non-navigational permit to put things that were solid on the dock. And again, I apologize for not following the right process. It wasn't our intention to do something wrong. So anyway, what happened, I want to also apologize you had sent apparently a complaint in April of 2020. And I did not, I picked it up and I just assumed, which I did a lot of things at that time, that it was just the permanent documents for the dock. And I just kind of filed it away, I didn't look at it. And the reason being is 2020 was an overwhelming year for me. My mom ended up collapsing and dying that month. And then we had a big meeting for clients in March, and my husband needed a lot of, I did about half of my time was helping him with physical therapy and taking care of him, nursing type things. And then June 8th of that year, 2020, I had a routine colonoscopy go wrong and was rushed into emergency surgery and almost died. It took me 2 months to come back from the blood loss and that. And then about that time, in August, my husband was needing some surgeries and getting weaker, and so I was very focused on that. And so I wasn't getting a lot of paperwork and things done. I got behind on a lot of things. And then in December, he was rushed to the hospital, and he had 8 days in Coeur d'Alene with a blood infection from something, from a complication, and they wouldn't let me visit him. But anyway, they brought him back up, and they said, and they felt he would live at least 2 more years or 4 more years. And he got home on Christmas Eve, the day before, on the 23rd at 6 o'clock at night, and then he was home, which was incredible, but he ended up dying that night, Christmas Eve at 1:44 in the morning. So it just, I wasn't paying attention to a lot of paperwork and different things. And so, but anyway, I just wanted to say that was one of the reasons that I did not see that or address it that year. So, but anyway, I was able to talk to Justin in January and ask him apologize and then ask him what process to go through. And he said and then Charlie helped me apply for, because he knew the doc system so well and all the things that needed to be reported, helped me to file an application for the permit for a non-navigational permit. So, and I wanted to say too, we've lived on the water before in other places before we moved here, 33 years we were in town for a couple of years, so we were trying to get the building organized. And we've lived where you're side by side, and we would never have built something that would block someone's view. And so, because we just never would do something like that. So I did bring pictures that I could show that there is, and I could hold it up to the camera, there's a lot of room around us. We aren't blocking anyone's view. And so I did bring a lot of pictures and didn't realize I should have turned them in ahead of time. I apologize, but I could hold some up to the monitor Justin said if that would be helpful. And thank you. Thank you for listening. And
You're welcome. You can just give those photos to Justin and then I can look at them later. That'll work. It's just fine.
And I kind of, but perhaps overzealous, I'll have him get the ones that he feels would be best, would be most helpful. So thank you.
Mr. Hearing Officer, if I can interrupt quickly, the audio in that room sounds a little bit muffled. Are you able to hear that okay there?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Okay. It just
I can
sounded.
turn our mic volume up a little bit too.
Okay. It just sounded a little bit muffled. I wanted to make sure it was coming out of the Logitech device there. So, okay. But if you guys can hear it, that's fine. Thank you.
Oh,
Sure. All right.
Sorry to
Thanks,
interrupt.
Chris. Okay, Ms. Wood, was that it or did you
yes, I
have?
just wanted to kind of give a sketch of what happened through the years. I think that pretty much covers it. Yeah.
Dr. Kramer, I'd like to say a word or two also. Kramer with a K, K-R-A-M-E-R. And we are the dock builder. We build a number of the docks on Ponderay Lake. I know that she does have a permit submitted, and I've seen it advertised in the paper for this non-compliance of the diving board and the canopy. Has there been any negative response to that permit that's come to you or Justin's office? It has been advertised. Do you have that there?
There are 16 items in the record for this case, and there is no public testimony received to date that I'm aware of.
Okay, and then both neighbors, the Mercers live, or Valorie Wood lives there on the point of the island, kind of facing east. And I don't know, has 500 foot or
About 400
and
yeah.
some feet.
So it is a.
And then the neighbor on her right or to the south has about the same 400 feet or so. Michael Silverman, and he has spoken for it. There's nothing that he can't even see it, and it doesn't bother him any. The neighbor on the other side again has about 400.
They have 200 feet, yeah.
And I think he called your office. It would have been Jeff Corty. And for leaving it there, that it doesn't bother anything and that the kids use it. I mean, it's just another toy on the lake that there seems to be a lot of different kinds of toys. There's swim slides, diving boards, and other things. This is just a little taller diving board, but there doesn't seem to be any negative response to anybody that we're aware of on the entire island to this. And if the permit for the non-navigation was advertised and there's still no negative response on it. We're hoping that she might be able to keep it.
We do have a letter in the record from the neighbor, Silverman. I believe that is the only neighbor communication we have, but we do have that.
Okay, oh, good.
So Courtney was not, he said he had talked to you, and, but he didn't turn in, I guess he didn't fill in paperwork, so, okay.
But you did have a verbal response from the other neighbor to your office.
Okay, great, thank you.
Should I have Courtney turn one in?
So it would be part of this hearing.
Okay.
Okay, I have a couple questions for either Ms. Wood or Mr. Kramer. So in regards to the fixed canopy and the wheelchair turnaround area, you mentioned previously that you had constructed that to match the aesthetic of the, I guess, the rest of the structures that are out there. Okay. Is that why you chose to go with a fixed canopy instead of a fabric cover?
That was one of the reasons he wanted it to fit in with the aesthetics. There is some gray covers on the smaller ones, I think, on the little 6x6, but we were worried also that a canopy like a cloth would, with the high winds, blow off or rip or, and snow on it, and we didn't know how to make it solid enough, but and I had thought that, like, at the marinas they take, and again, I don't know all the rules, but at the marinas they take off the canvas, and people that have boat lifts with canvas take them off. It's for the winter. I didn't know if that was a rule or they did it for, because of the weather.
So is that fixed canopy used primarily in the summertime for shade or in the wintertime for protection from the elements?
For both. Kendrick would go down there too in the summer and sit and watch the kids swim. Take his walker down, he had a walker too that he could use part-time.
Okay. In looking at the photo that was on page 10 of your application of the high dive platform, it appears that the platform actually extends out past the end of the dock by about 6 feet. Does that sound accurate?
Yeah, the diving, it's for a rope swing. I do have some pictures, but it does extend out about, I think about 6 feet.
Instead of wood.
It's just the wood comes out. So I can get a clear picture of it.
Yeah, it is on page 10. And I just wanted to verify that what I appear to see in the photo is that it sticks out from the end of that L shape on the dock by about 6 feet or so.
Yes, yeah.
I do see now you mentioned a rope swing, it does look like there's a rope or something hanging from it.
Right,
So.
it has a rope swing on it.
Okay.
This is a little bit clearer.
Okay, great. I think at this time, that's all I have for questions for you.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate your listening and your consideration. And, as Charlie said, my folks, Kendrick, that was his form of art, his house and walkways and the land, and he loved it incredibly. So my hopes were, you know, it's an expression of him and his art. The tower is like a sculpture, and he loved art and sculpture and the land. And I was hoping to keep it, and so that was because it is a beautiful expression of him. Of course, I do have the whole house. It is a beautiful expression of him, the different walkways and the land too. So I thank you for your consideration of my request for the permit, and thank you for meeting with us tonight. I do appreciate your time.
You're welcome. And with that, we will move on to testimony from IDL. So I believe, Justin, are you providing that?
I am. Good afternoon, my name is Justin Eshelman. I'm a lands resource specialist for the Ponderay Lake Supervisory Area Office of the Idaho Department of Lands, hereby known as IDL, and I am a resource specialist of the Navigable Waters Program at IDL. My purpose in being here today is to provide you with information regarding IDL's assessment of application for encroachment permit number L-96-S-1083B, hereby known as application, filed by Valorie Wood, hereby known as applicant. On April 2nd, 2020, IDL received a complaint of a diving tower constructed on an existing single-family dock. On April 10th, 2020, IDL inspected the site and completed an inspection report, see Exhibit IDL-2. IDL mailed a notice of non-compliance letter on April 20th, 2020 by certified mail that was received by applicant on April 23rd, 2020. Based on the certified return receipt, see Exhibit IDL-3. Applicant did not respond to the first notice of non-compliance letter. IDL mailed a second notice of non-compliance letter on December 20th, 2021 by certified mail that was received by applicant on December 24th, 2021, based on the certified return receipt, see Exhibit IDL-4. Mr. Hearing Officer, I do want to point out the first sentence of the second paragraph in the background. The date the application was filed should read February 7th, 2022 and not 2002. Applicant initially filed an application on February 7th, 2022, under which she is seeking an after-the-fact encroachment permit for a diving tower and fixed canopy on an existing dock on Lake Ponderay. Applicant has an existing encroachment permit, L-96-S-1083A, that was issued on May 7th, 2019, which authorizes a heat pump, water intake line, and a 6-foot by 54-foot pier, 6-foot by 46-foot approach with wheelchair lift, 36-foot by 7-foot L-shaped pier with a 30-foot by 20-foot single slip floating dock. A variance was granted for a single-family dock exceeding 700 square feet to provide access to the island home at low water and to provide wheelchair access. See Exhibit IDL-5. I am going to forego reading word for word the timeline and the applicable legal provisions. The timeline date for the original filing of the application is correct. Now moving on to IDL's analysis of the application's compliance with the Lake Protection Act and Lake Protection Act rules. Applicant is an owner of one littoral parcel on Lake Ponderay, parcel ID number RP00799000007A0A with approximately 300 feet of water frontage. Applicant is therefore a littoral owner with littoral rights. Applicant already has an existing encroachment permit for a heat pump, water intake line, and single family dock. Applicant is seeking an after-the-fact permit for a diving tower and fixed canopy on the existing dock. The application type would be considered a non-navigational encroachment. IDAPA 20.03.04 does not have any specific requirements for minimum shoreline length for non-navigational encroachments. IDAPA 20.03.04 does not have any specific requirements for square footage minimums or maximums for non-navigational encroachments. The proposed encroachments do not appear to extend beyond the established line of navigability for this particular area on Lake Ponderay. There's a presumed adverse effect if a non-navigational encroachment is located closer than 25 feet from adjacent littoral right lines. The diving tower and fixed canopy will be more than 25 feet from the littoral lines on either side of the encroachment per the submitted drawings. IDAP 20.03.04.030.02 provides that encroachments not in an aid of navigation and navigable lakes will normally not be approved by the department and will be considered only in cases involving major environmental, economic, or social benefits to the general public. Approval under these circumstances is authorized only when consistent with the public trust doctrine and when there is no other feasible alternatives with less impact on public trust values. The application does not include documentation of any major environmental, economic, or social benefits to the general public. IDL cannot foresee any reasons why the diving platform and fixed canopy on a private single-family dock could benefit the general public. Based on IDL's review of the application, IDL concludes that the diving tower and fixed canopy are encroachments not in aid of navigation, and the application is for non-navigational encroachments. This application does not demonstrate any major environmental, economic, or social benefits to the general public for which it has provided information. IDL does not recognize any benefit to the public for non-navigational encroachments on a private single-family dock, and IDL recommends denial.
Okay, great. Thank you, Justin. I've got a few questions for you just to make sure I understand the application and some other facts here. So the rules state that covered slips may not be supported by extra piling nor constructed with hard roofs. The fixed canopy over the wheelchair turnaround area is not over a boat slip. Have you seen many other fixed canopies over parts of what's basically a dock approach at other single-family docks?
Not often. There's only a handful of examples where I've seen people put gazebo type structures at the end of docks that are clearly for general hanging out purposes and not for moorage of vessels underneath them.
Okay. What is the ordinary high water mark of Lake Pend Oreille that determines state ownership of the lake bed?
That would be an elevation of 2051.0 feet, and that is in an NGVD datum.
Okay. And then contrasting with that, what is the artificial high water mark of the Lake Pend Oreille?
That is 2062.5 feet, same NGVD datum.
Great, thank you. On page 9 of the application, shows the water depths under the dock. Based on the water depth at the end of the dock where the high dive platform is located, is it your opinion that's over privately owned submerged lands, or is it over state-owned submerged lands?
It's my opinion that that would be located over state-owned submerged lands.
Okay, thank you. And we've talked about this a little bit already. Page 8 of the application shows the distance from near the end of the dock to the southern property line is about 240 feet. Is the property line also reflective in general of the littoral right lines?
I would point to, so let me find the page number on this one.
I was looking at page 9 of the application.
Okay, is that the overhead. I'm assuming I'm on page 9, overhead at 50.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. Page 8 of the application.
Page 8.
But shows a plan view of the dock and the ramp and then that 240-foot distance.
Yes, I'm looking at that. So a previous application shows this better. That is attached to the inspection report, the notice of non-compliance. You can see that the littoral right lines would project roughly parallel with the private upland property lines.
Okay, so on this side of the property it is about 240 feet to that littoral right line.
Correct.
Okay, great, thank you. And then moving to the other side of the dock, it shows a distance to the northern property line as 50 feet from the main dock pier, not from the end of the finger.
Correct.
So I guess two questions. One is the property line in this instance also reflective of the littoral right line? And also, how far is it from the end of that L-shaped pier where the platform is to that northern littoral right line?
So this is one that I would say that is not reflective of the littoral right line. And again, I am referencing the approved permit 1038A, which was for the dock itself. That is IDL exhibit 5. I think better representation is included in that submittal.
Okay, so what is the approximate distance then from the end of the L to the littoral right line?
Based on the scaled drawing submitted, approximately 70 feet.
Okay. Great, thank you. Those were all the questions I had for Justin. So now we'll move back to Ms. Wood as the applicant. Do you have any closing comments?
No, not that I can think of, just that, yeah, I appreciate your time and I'm hoping to keep the structures, but I will, but anyway, thank you very much. I appreciate the consideration of my permit, my application for the permit.
You're welcome, and thank you for coming tonight off the island, and I hope you have a safe return back to the island. It's probably going to be near dark by the time you get there.
This storm has settled down some, so it'll be fine. So thank you.
Okay. So once again, a decision by Department of Lands will be made within 30 days from the close of the record, which is going to be, looks like May 19th of 2022. So having reached the hour of 6:36, I now adjourn this hearing. Thank you for your attendance and your participation. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.